Welcome to StratNewsGlobal. I'm Aishwarya, and today we're talking about Canada's allegations against India that India has been involved in Canadian internal in has been involved in internal politics in Canada. The Ministry of External Affairs of India has in fact rejected these claims and said that if anything, Canada has been the one involved or has been interfering in India's internal politics. This seems like it may begin another verbal spat of allegations or discussions on a global stage. And today I have with me Ambassador Ajay Bisaria to talk about the allegations that Canada has put on India. Can you tell us if India has in any way interfered and what is the extent of it?
I think the allegations of interference by India are completely absurd. They are not correct at all. India has neither the will nor the capacity to interfere in elections in distant lands like Canada. The genesis of the issue is that Canada set up a foreign interference commission in about 2023. And that was done as a political response of the Trudeau government to allegations from the conservative opposition and others that the Trudeau government was asleep at the wheel when China was interfering in two of its elections. This was 2019 and 2021. And these were serious allegations against the Chinese who did interfere, I believe, in those elections. But the commission itself has said that while there would have been interference, it did not influence the outcome of the elections. So what we have essentially is a situation that uh, this was a reaction, a political reaction to Chinese interference, and India was loaded onto the agenda of this commission as an afterthought to suit the then political agenda of the Trudeau government. And I think this is a commission and an idea that will die in 2025 with Canadian elections that are expected this year.
Right. But at the onset of elections, is this another political gimmick, or can this be another political gimmick given that Trudeau is already on his way out? So, do you still see this as something Canada would probably do, pose more allegations against India or involve them for reasons, for benefiting them, internally to get more traction from the conservatives, like you said?
Not really. I think this Foreign Interference Commission is going by sheer inertia and momentum because it had been set up. It has to go through the motions. It has to it produced an interim report. Now it's coming up with a final report. The report is fairly harmless. It says that while countries may have interfered, it didn't make any difference to the elections. So I think this is just a political game and it's on its last legs, and India rightly just dismissed these allegations as meaningless. But I don't think this is any kind of escalation. It in a political year in Canada when it will go into elections. I think this issue will die down. The allegation will remain against the Canadians that they permitted interference by the Chinese. And if anything, if any country is seen to be interfering in Canada's internal politics at this point, it is the United States of America, the southern neighbor, because it's quite well known that Trump's arrival in the White House accelerated uh, Trudeau's political demise, because what happened was that there were multiple statements against Trudeau coming from the White House, and most people in Canada believe that that hastened the resignation of Trudeau. So I think it's pretty much going to be a non-issue going forward.
Right. And just another follow-up question on this. This is another allegation that Canada has put on India. And previously, when we had another allegation in the Nijjar case, it was Canada that eventually also came forward and said that, this India was not involved. So, what do we think about these allegations that are coming? Canada has these allegations against India, but they themselves are forced to sort of admit that it's not true, what they're saying. So, could this just not rather, could this, but is this a pattern that they are sort of following, you know?
I think the credibility of these allegations is very low, and no one or most sections of the political establishment in Canada don't take them seriously themselves. India has been saying that there has been no clear evidence that was provided about all the affairs in Canada and their links to anyone in the Indian government. Equally, in these particular allegations, even though the Indian High Commissioner was expelled ostensibly on similar allegations of some kind of interference, there is no credible evidence that has come to the fore, and therefore, I think the credibility of the Trudeau government, which is already led to the resignation of the Prime Minister, is very, very low. So, therefore, I think this is just going through the motions. It's going to pretty much die out this year.
Correct. So, just regarding, since we're on this topic, why India then? Why are these allegations, why are these baseless allegations coming against India again and again? What is the purpose for the Trudeau government, even if it's just to sort of hold their ground on a very domestic level within Canada? Why India?
Well, India has traditionally entered into domestic politics in Canada because of the diaspora of Indian heritage. And often Canada's politics was shaped and driven by trying to appease elements of this diaspora. In this particular case of the last government, it was supported from the outside by the NDP, which was a government which was a party, the third largest party led by Jagmeet Singh, which had certain sympathies with pro Khalistani and anti India elements. So I think that led to the politics of India being dragged into multiple domestic issues, and Canada making comments on India's domestic issues. You recall that Trudeau himself made a comment on the farmers' protests that were going on in India, and also he raised these allegations and escalated what should have been a security conversation at the working level to a very, very political and high profile issue. So I think it was playing to the interests of some diaspora who tend to be anti-Indian, and that I think was the reason for India becoming an issue. Otherwise, India is not really an issue in Canadian domestic politics.
Correct. That being said, with the elections coming up, are we expecting a more anti-India emotion or wave in Canada or not?
I would discount that. I think the elections will be fought on very internal issues, and the biggest foreign influence or foreign country that will be involved in those elections will be Canada's southern neighbor, the United States, the arrival of Trump, the threat of tariffs, and how they play out. I don't think the India issue will be an important one, even though parties like the NDP would like to play out some of those issues. I think the issues Canada faces are domestic, are economic. Also, I think the Trudeau government faces 10 years of anti incumbency. The Liberals themselves face this anti incumbency, and the Conservatives are far ahead. So, while the irritant of the pro Khalistani radical anti India elements will not go away completely, because that is a structural reality in Canada for the last several decades, its influence on domestic politics and the noise it creates in Canadian politics will be much less. So I don't think you'll be hearing too much of a conversation around India in Canada's internal politics, but you might get a little bit of noise now and then.
Correct. That being said, just the last question. What do you think would be the future of India and Canada ties? Have the ties been damaged or irretrievably? Are we at a are we frozen with with our ties with them?
Well, I would say that the political relationship has been damaged and damaged in a somewhat longer term sense, but not irretrievably. I mean, there could be patient diplomacy to retrieve that. The good news has been that while the political relationship has been at a low, the business relationship, which involves the investment of over $100 billion of Canadian funds into India, and the people to people relationship, flights, and the visa regimes, everything has gone on fairly smoothly. Compare that to other difficult relationships that India has, with Pakistan. There are no visas, no flights. With China, India didn't have till very recently flights or exchanges, despite having a lot of trade. So with Canada, the rest of the relationship has functioned smoothly. Even in the political relationship, in the long term, there's a good deal of alignment. Uh, the China factor is a cause for worry. There's a for both Canada and India, and that's something that aligns the two countries geopolitically. And the Indo-Pacific strategy that Canada announced is more forward-leaning than many other Western countries. For many other Western countries, for instance, it calls Canada China a disruptive power. It calls India a critical partner. So I think the long-term interests are aligned between India and Canada, also because of the fact that the US is Canada's closest partner, notwithstanding the recent problems,
Correct.
and India is the US's close partner. So there are multiple reasons for India and Canada to politically get together, and I think in the medium term, the relationship will get back on the rails somewhat slowly.
So that's it, viewers. Thank you for watching us on Strat News Global and keep up with us for more updates on this story.